Are you looking for a quality stock that pays a good dividend but also helps your portfolio grow? Well, you're in luck because today I'm going to give you my 3 hidden gems for dividend stocks. Let's go ahead and break it down. Now, anytime I do a dividend video, I think I like to look at dividends differently than what most people do because I want a stock that grows. Most importantly, that's the thing. If I see a stock that's up 20, 30, 40%, that's amazing. If it pays a great dividend, that is a hidden gem. That is something that I absolutely want to own. And there are others that take a very different approach. I don't really think it's the best approach. And you've likely seen dividend communities, dividend YouTube pages, dividend Instagram pages, where you'll see and say, oh, they're paying a 5 or 6% dividend. But then you look at the stock and say, oh, but you lost 40%. It does not make sense for you to make $1,000 in passive income or $1,000 in dividends when the stock lost $4,000. You don't win in that scenario. That is basic math. So I want to cover the ones that are doing both. They're both growing and they pay a solid dividend. And to make this list, you had to outperform the S&P 500 by at least double. Okay, the market is up, depending on when you're watching this video, anywhere between 12 to 15% or so. Every stock on this list is nearly double that amount. So let's go ahead and start. Also, before I get started, our members, they got this list already, okay? You're getting this late, okay? Just let you know, our members have gotten this information early. That's why you want to join our members only. It's only $10 a month. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to start off with the one, I really don't know what order to put this in. I'll put my favorite one last because I have a lot to say about that one. The first one is the Blackstone Group. They are a financial consulting company, really an asset manager is really the best way to classify them. This stock is up 39% in the last 6 months, and they're up 67% over the last year. On top of that, they pay a 2.64% dividend. Now again, I want to emphasize, it is very difficult for most people to find a company that has performed this well and pays any dividend at all. Now 2.64 is also the lowest dividend yield here too, so it does improve from the dividend perspective, but 2.65%, that's solid. I think ideally you want to get 3 or more, but this is solid because again, 67% in the last year. Whew, right? Especially for a company that's not in tech, that is very, very difficult to find. And I don't see enough people talking about the finance sector, but especially about Blackstone. I almost never see it on any watch list that CNBC puts out. I rarely see it that anybody has it on their stocks to watch or stocks to buy. I have talked a lot about finance in terms of insurance companies and how those have come back into style. But Blackstone seems to be one that really stands out above the rest in that sector. So it can also help you to diversify. Because again, I don't really see a whole bunch of people buying finance stocks outside of maybe SoFi. SoFi does not pay a dividend at the time that we're doing this recording. As we move up the list, the next one that we have here is NRG. Now, if you have been a subscriber of the channel, which you should have been by now, then you know that I have been talking a little bit about energy stocks and how right around this period, energy stocks tend to do well. Now, this is a little bit more interesting because at least here in North Carolina, gas prices have fallen, and that usually does have an impact, one, on inflation, which is good for us for inflation purposes, but not always good on a lot of these energy producers. However, NRG, as well as Constellation Energy Group, CEG, that we've talked about inside members only, second time I brought that up, that one has done quite well, but NRG pays a better dividend when I'm comparing the two. NRG is up 44% in the last 6 months and up 58% in the last year. You can get the theme here, y'all, right? You're not going to find a whole bunch of other dividend stocks that are going to do better than this, right? I can find a stock that's paying 10% in dividends, but it'll be down like 50%, right? You want a stock that does both. Pays you some decent passive income, if you want to call it that, but also is growing quite well in the market and should have more runway in the future. They pay a 3.06% dividend at the time that we are doing this video. And we're now moving to my favorite one thus far. And I'm going to tell you why it's my favorite. That one is Simon Property Group, SPG. They are up 27% in the last 6 months and up 23% in the last year. Now, this is the lowest performer out of the 3. Okay, it's the lowest performer out of the 3. But why is it my favorite? Well, number one, it does pay a 5.19%, 5.19% dividend. So that is quite strong. It's very, very healthy dividend. And what I like most about it, they are primarily a real estate company that do a lot of apartments. And this is where that econ degree comes in handy, at least for me. So we've talked a little bit about housing, what we expect to happen in 2024 and even 2025 with the Fed reducing interest rates. Real estate is always going to be a thing. I think we know that, but housing supply has not increased significantly. There are a lot of people renting, and unfortunately, I would not really so happy about this part of it, but rent is the one thing that is keeping inflation high, and that's not anything that typically reduces. You almost never see rent go down, right? It may not increase as fast, but it almost never goes down. That's going to be something that's going to help Simon Property Group. And as long as people need housing, which I would think is the foreseeable future, they're going to continue to win. Now, I've done a lot of research on Simon Property. I think back in 2021, a lot of these trends still hold. They have a really great annual report that really gives you detail on how the market is moving. For example, they have apartment complexes and properties in dozens of states, but they do focus and try and focus on areas where people are moving the most. Dallas was one of those, Dallas, Texas, and Miami, Florida, which is one of the most expensive places to live in the world, but also where a lot of people started to move after the pandemic, which also helped their business as a whole. So Simon Property is, I will never call it a stock invincible. I definitely don't think Simon Property is invincible, but I do think that it is in a very insulated position for 2024. We expect rates to come down. We do expect the housing market, or at least housing prices, to increase. Because again, when you start to see rates come down a bit, you're going to see more people flood into it because they think that buying a home is going to be cheaper. Whether or not that's going to be the case, we will find out. But there's going to be way more renters, and that's going to become more expensive, and all that revenue is going to continue to funnel into Simon Property Group. I really don't see how this one is not going to work out. Now, saying that out loud on tape can really age terribly for me. Okay, so that's a scary thing to say, but I will say Simon Property Group, it is in the right spot. It's in the right spot to continue to grow, at least for the first half of 2024, because that's how I'd like to look at the stock market. Is you get a 6-month contract, right? When we come back in 6 months in June 2024, we'll see how you do, right? And then we will reevaluate, see whether we are right, whether we're wrong, what adjustments needs to be made. But that is my favorite one, just based on how it works. I think we all understand real estate just a bit more, because we all live in a house or an apartment or somewhere in between, right? So I think that one is the one that just makes most sense from a supply and demand perspective. I think all three obviously are good. Otherwise, I wouldn't have put it in members only. I wouldn't have added it to my own personal watch list. I wouldn't be bringing it to you here today. So those are the 3 hidden gems. However, that ain't the only thing you need to know. Okay, outside of these, I do have a few other stocks that you do want to pay attention to, and to find out what those are, you want to check out these videos right here.